Gentlemen, let me ask you something honest. Have you ever been in an intimate moment with your partner, feeling completely connected on your end, but you can sense she isn't quite there with you? Maybe she enjoys the closeness. Maybe she goes through the motions. But that peak experience, that moment of complete release and surrender, just doesn't happen for her. Or it happens occasionally, but feels unpredictable, like you're guessing in the dark every single time. If that resonates with you, I want you to hear this clearly. You are not failing because of effort. You are not failing because you don't care. You are failing because no one has ever told you the truth about female anatomy, arousal, and what positions actually work with her biology rather than against it. Here is the statistic that stopped me cold when I first encountered it in clinical literature. Research shows that while 95% of men regularly reach climax during intimacy, only about 65% of women do. And when you dig even deeper, less than 30% of women climax from penetration alone. That is a staggering gap, gentlemen. And the reason that gap exists has nothing to do with how long you last, how strong you are, or how deeply you care. It comes down to biology, blood flow, and, most critically, angle. I'm Dr. Lila Romano, a board-certified urologist with over a decade of clinical experience working with men and couples on exactly these issues. And today, I'm going to walk you through 5 specific positions that women consistently ask for, that most men have never truly offered. Not just what they are, but what they do neurologically, physiologically, and emotionally. And stay with me until the end, because I have one bonus technique that works in any position, any night, starting tonight. Before we get into the positions, I want to give you one piece of context that makes everything else click into place. Because without it, what I'm about to share will just feel like a list. Here is the truth most men have never been told. Men and women get aroused completely differently. For men, it happens fast. Something visual, something physical, and you're there. For women, it's a completely different process. Her body needs time. It needs the right environment. And most critically, it needs to feel safe. Not safe as in danger, but safe as in no pressure, no rush, no sense that she has to perform or meet some expectation. Here's why that matters so much. When a woman feels rushed or pressured during intimacy, her body releases cortisol. That's the stress hormone. And cortisol is the single biggest enemy of female arousal. It literally shuts the process down before it can build. This is not about emotions or preferences, gentlemen. This is about biology. Her body cannot fully respond when her stress levels are elevated. Now here's where this hits, especially close to home for men over 50. As men get older, performance anxiety quietly creeps in, and the natural response is to stick with what feels familiar. Positions that feel powerful, positions that feel like you're in control. But here's the painful irony, gentlemen. The more you chase that feeling of control, the further you move from what she actually needs from you. The gap between what you're giving and what she's craving gets wider, right at the age when it should finally be coming together. The 5 positions I'm about to share with you are the most direct way I know to close that gap. Not tomorrow, tonight. So let's get into them. Position 1, the lotus position. In physical terms, the lotus is straightforward. She sits in your lap, wrapping her legs around your waist, while you sit with your legs crossed or gently folded beneath you. You are face to face, chest to chest. Your foreheads can touch. There is essentially no distance between your bodies anywhere. You are not stacked in a hierarchy of over and under. You are simply and completely together. What makes the lotus so psychologically powerful for women is precisely what makes it uncomfortable for so many men. It removes almost every form of performance from the equation. There is no impressive range of motion in this position, no speed, no power, no athleticism to display. The movement available to you is slow and circular, a rocking rather than a thrusting, and it requires you to hold her weight steadily against you rather than driving any particular physical agenda. The lotus demands that you simply be there, completely, with no place to hide behind movement or effort. Most men, when they first encounter this position, feel an uncomfortable sense of passivity. They feel like they are not doing enough, not contributing enough, not being enough, and so they resist it, or they try it briefly and immediately introduce speed and urgency in ways that undermine everything that makes it valuable. But here is what those men do not yet understand. For a woman, the experience of a man who is fully and calmly present without any agenda, who is holding her weight without strain or impatience, who is looking at her face and breathing slowly and not trying to get anywhere, is one of the most profoundly moving experiences that intimacy can offer her. The lotus also creates something neurologically remarkable. The slow, synchronized rocking it requires tends over just a few minutes to bring both partners' breathing into alignment, and that synchronization of breath combined with sustained eye contact activates what neuroscientists call the social engagement system, the part of the nervous system associated with genuine safety, deep trust, and the most profound forms of human bonding. Cortisol drops, oxytocin rises, and a woman whose nervous system has shifted into that state is a woman whose body can fully respond. I had a patient, a man named Robert, 62 years old, who told me he had tried this position once, felt completely lost, and never returned to it. He said, and I remember this clearly, I felt like I wasn't doing anything. I asked him what his wife said afterward. He paused, and then told me she had called it the most connected she had felt in years. He had been doing everything. He simply didn't recognize it as action because it didn't look like effort. That reframe changed his entire intimate life. When you are in the lotus, rest your hands on her lower back rather than her waist. That placement communicates rootedness. Breathe audibly. Let her hear that you are calm and present. Say her name softly. And for those of you with knee or hip stiffness, which is completely common after 50, simply sit on the edge of the bed with her in your lap rather than on the floor. The position works. What matters is the closeness, not the logistics. Position 2. Spooning. Many men categorize spooning as a secondary option, something for when you're tired, something for lazy weekend mornings, something that occupies the space between real intimacy and simply lying together. That categorization fundamentally misunderstands what spooning offers, and it is exactly why so many women describe it as one of their most deeply desired forms of intimate connection. In spooning, you lie on your side behind her, your chest pressed against the curve of her back, your arm around her waist, your legs tangled with hers. She is curled in front of you, her back completely given over to your presence. She cannot see your face. She can feel you everywhere. And that distinction matters more than most men realize. When she gives you her back during intimacy, she is giving you the part of herself she cannot watch. She cannot monitor your expression. She cannot see where you are looking. She is trusting you completely with her most unguarded self. In the language of vulnerability and attachment, this is a profound act of faith. The physical experience of spooning is also unique in ways that matter deeply to women. The position allows for a slow, deep rhythm that is nothing like the fast, percussive pace many men default to elsewhere. I often describe it to the men in my practice as a whisper rather than a shout, and that whisper matters physiologically. Research on female arousal consistently shows that a relaxed nervous system is not just a preference for women. It is a biological requirement for building toward climax. The slow, enveloping rhythm of spooning keeps cortisol low and oxytocin steadily climbing in a way that fast, goal-oriented intimacy almost never achieves. Being completely encircled by your partner's body, feeling his heartbeat against her back and his breath in her hair, triggers a felt sense of safety and shelter that women describe as almost impossible to produce any other way. She feels guarded, protected, like the most important thing in the room. And gentlemen, for men over 50, this position offers something particularly valuable. It creates profound emotional intimacy without placing intense physical demands on your body. The depth of connection is equal to any other position. The physical cost is far lower. Let your breathing fall into rhythm with hers. Place your hand gently on her sternum, over her heart. That single gesture communicates more than most men say in an entire evening. I had a patient named David, 58 years old, who came to me genuinely confused. He said, "Dr. Romano, my wife keeps asking me to just hold her, and I don't understand why that's enough for her." That question told me everything. He had spent 30 years measuring intimacy by what he accomplished in it. The moment he stopped accomplishing and started arriving, everything changed between them. Unlike most intimate positions, spooning has no clear beginning and no clear end. You can drift, you can wake up still holding her. The position itself communicates something permanent. I am still here, I have not gone anywhere, and I intend to stay. Position 3, the chair position. On its surface, the chair position appears to place all agency with her. She is on top, straddling you as you sit in a sturdy chair or on the firm edge of the bed, feet flat on the floor, back straight. She sets the pace. She controls the depth and rhythm. And this is precisely why so many men resist it, because many men experience the removal of their physical agency as a loss of something important. They feel like observers, furniture. They want to be doing more. But here is what those men have not yet understood. The chair position is not about removing you from the encounter. It is about redefining your role in a way that gives her something she genuinely needs. And what she needs is the experience of being fully in control of her own pleasure, at her own pace, in her own rhythm, while being held by someone who is completely and solidly present beneath her. Here is the specific quality of the chair that you cannot replicate in a standard bed-based position. When she is on top of you in bed, she is braced on her hands or knees, managing her balance, negotiating gravity in a way that demands real physical attention. Part of her focus is always on the logistics of staying in position. In the chair, she sits upright. She is vertical, fully supported by you and the structure beneath her. Her hands are free, her body is fully present. She can lean back, move forward, settle into whatever angle her body is asking for, without managing anything. And here is why that freedom matters beyond comfort. Research on female arousal shows that when women control their own angle and rhythm, cortisol drops measurably and oxytocin surges. Her body stops bracing and starts receiving. That is not a small shift. That is the difference between building towards something and staying stuck at the threshold. She is doing all of this while looking directly at you, while you look directly up at her. That eye contact is unlike any other. You're looking up at her, she's looking down at you. Your role in the chair is to be exactly what the chair itself is: stable, solid, completely reliable. But do not be passive, gentlemen. Hold her gaze, place your hands on her hips or thighs, not to direct her, but to let her feel your presence beneath her. Speak to her, let her hear your voice. Your steadiness beneath her communicates that she is completely supported. Your active attention communicates that you are not waiting for something. You are fully with her every single moment. Position 4. Legs on shoulders. This position looks from the outside like a straightforwardly intense and athletic configuration. She lies on her back. You lift her legs and rest her ankles or calves gently on your shoulders, creating an angle and a depth of connection that is different from almost any other position. Most men understand the physical dimension of this immediately. But the reason women ask for this position is not primarily physical, and understanding the real reason changes everything about how you approach it. When her legs go up and she becomes fully open in front of you, something shifts in her psychologically. She has no more barriers, no crossed leg, no angle of defense, no part of her body that is guarded or unexposed. She is entirely open. Her face is completely visible to you. Everything about her is available to your gaze. This is the most vulnerable physical position she can be in with you. And the reason she chooses it, the reason she asks for it, is because she trusts you enough to be completely without armor in your presence. That trust is the actual gift she is offering, not the physical access. The emotional nakedness that this configuration requires of her. She is telling you with her body that she believes you can hold this level of vulnerability without flinching, without turning away, without making her feel exposed in an unsafe sense. She is passing you a profound act of faith and waiting to see how you receive it. How you receive it matters enormously. The men who truly understand this position lean forward, not just physically, but emotionally. They hold her legs with care rather than mechanical efficiency. They make and sustain eye contact rather than looking anywhere else. They whisper to her. They lean down to kiss her at moments when she might not expect it. They stay fully aware that what is happening in front of them is an act of extraordinary trust, and they meet it with the tenderness and attentiveness it deserves. I had a patient named Marcus, late 50s, who told me his wife had asked for this position for years, and he had always deflected. He assumed she wanted intensity and speed. The night he finally slowed down, held her legs gently, looked her in the eyes, and leaned down to kiss her mid-moment, she cried afterward, not from sadness, from finally feeling received exactly the way she had been asking for. That is what this position is really offering you, not a physical configuration, a moment of complete trust, met with complete presence. If flexibility is a concern, and after 50, that is completely valid. Placing a firm pillow beneath her hips reduces the degree of hip flexion significantly and makes this position accessible and comfortable for virtually everyone. The closeness remains, the trust remains. The only thing that changes is the logistics. Position 5, the seated oral position. This is the position that requires the most deliberate choice from you because it requires you to leave the bed and lower yourself to your knees on the floor. The setup is simple. She sits on the edge of the bed or in a chair, leaning back slightly, relaxed and open. You kneel in front of her and give her your full, unhurried, devoted attention. That is the entire position. She is above you. You are below her. Your focus is entirely and exclusively on her. The resistance most men feel toward this position comes from what kneeling symbolizes. In the cultural language of masculinity that most men have absorbed over a lifetime, kneeling communicates submission, weakness, a lowering of status. Men who have been taught to lead and to stand tall experience getting onto the floor in front of their partner as a kind of contradiction of who they are. But here is the reframe that changes everything, gentlemen. When you kneel in front of her, you are not lowering yourself. You are lifting her. You are making a declaration with your entire body, in the most literal way possible, that her pleasure is worth your discomfort, that she is worth the hardness of the floor, that you are choosing to be exactly there, completely focused on her, because there is nowhere else you would rather be. Research on oxytocin release shows that acts of devoted, unreciprocated attention, where one partner gives completely without expectation of immediate return, produce some of the strongest bonding responses measurable between partners. When you kneel in front of her with complete absorption in her experience, you are not performing a technique. You are triggering one of the deepest biological bonding mechanisms that exists between two people. For a woman, the experience of looking down and seeing her partner's complete devoted attention directed entirely at her is one of the most powerful feelings that intimacy can produce. She does not have to perform. She does not have to worry about how she looks or sounds. She is simply receiving, completely and without condition, the full gift of your presence. Your pace communicates patience. Your hands resting on her thighs communicate care without pressure. Your complete absorption communicates that this is not a step towards something else. It is its own complete and freely offered thing. Now, I promised you a bonus before we close, and here it is, because technique without communication is only half the equation. One of the most consistent things I hear from couples in my practice is that they want to try new things, but don't know how to bring it up without it feeling awkward or clinical. So let me give you a simple framework that makes this conversation natural rather than uncomfortable. Timing is everything. Do not bring this up during intimacy. Choose a calm, relaxed moment. After dinner, during a walk, winding down before bed. You might say something as simple as, I've been thinking about ways we could feel even more connected. Would you be open to exploring some things together? Frame it as curiosity and exploration, not as fixing a problem. That single shift in framing changes everything about how she receives it. During intimacy itself, keep communication simple and warm. Does this feel good? Should I slow down? Show me what you like. Watch her body. Changes in breathing, the way her hands move, the sounds she makes. Her body is giving you feedback constantly. And early in the encounter, simply say, we're exploring together. There's no pressure and no agenda. That one sentence dissolves performance anxiety for both of you. And when pressure dissolves, presence fills the space. And presence, as everything I've shared today comes back to, is the most powerful thing you can bring to any of these 5 positions. So, gentlemen, here is my challenge for you. Choose one of these 5 positions this week, just one. Bring it with full presence. No agenda, no urgency, no performance. Give it everything I described today. And then I want to hear from you. Come down to the comments and tell me your experience. I read every single comment, and your answers shape what I create for this community every week. If this video gave you something real today, subscribe with notifications on, because every week I am here with honest, clinically grounded guidance to help you. This is Dr. Lila Romano, and I will see you in the next one.